Beautiful people, and welcome to another session on Love and Dating episode. It's your girl here again, Abimbola, and today I'm going to be anchoring this session. Welcome for you all that just joined us for the first time. Here's the Love and Dating episode, and we have this monthly session, and we always have a good time. And today is not going to be an exception. So as we also on the flat today, we are going to be talking about boundaries, managing and respecting boundaries. As we all know, as humans, we are social beings and we like to build interaction. And you know this concept of see finish. How don't we get people to see us finish? It's really, really important for us to know how to maintain boundaries in order to help enhance our interpersonal relationships with people. But it's so unfortunate that majority of us don't know how to go about this. Sometimes we are trying and sometimes we are not. So today on this session, we are joined by Mrs. Comfort, and she's a content creator, a coach, and a counselor. She's a creative director of Phoenix Blvck, an online platform that is focused on helping people achieve overall positivity, well-being, as well as nurture healthier relationships. She offers services such as career clarity and emotional healing sessions, brand storytelling, as well as online coaching. She's also host for the Healing and Living podcast, a podcast geared towards creating awareness about abuse in relationships. So today we're going to be joined by her, and she's going to be doing justice to this topic. Over to you, Sister Comfort.
Please let me know if you can see me.
Yes, we can. Welcome.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Abimbola, for the warm welcome. I really appreciate it. Please just give me moments. All right. So I want to say thank you to everyone once again. When I received the call from or the message from Abimbola asking me to join you guys for this session, I was like, oh, okay. This definitely sounds like something that, I'll be happy to join. I love speaking to people, especially about things like this that really matter to me. So the topic was supposed to be emotional intelligence. And then she said, okay, let's change it to boundaries in the relationship. I was like, okay, that's really, really good. Because I happen to have another speaking engagements coming up next month on emotional intelligence. And boundaries in relationship is something that I've been wanting to talk about on my platform for quite some time too. So I was like, okay, this works. So I said, okay, I'm going to put together what I will be talking about. I would have brought slides with me and to show you guys today, but I didn't think I would be giving the platform to co-host, so I'll be able to share my screen. So I just made the notes in my notebook. So I'm really, really sorry, guys, that I don't have slides with me, but I'll try to definitely make the session as engaging and enlightening as possible, right? So I'd like to start with asking us what comes to our mind when we hear boundaries. I love my sessions to be interactive, please. So let's try to answer questions. And also let's make use of the chat box. Let's make it as active as possible. Thank you, guys. So yeah, going back to boundaries. What comes to our mind when we hear boundaries? It's something that people talk about a lot. Oh, you're overstepping my boundaries. Oh, set boundaries. Oh, reinforce boundaries. You need boundaries this, boundaries that. So what really comes to our mind when we hear boundaries? Anyone? Anybody at all? Any takers? Okay, I have a response here. It says, anything we can do to avoid still finish. I love how straight to the point these responses. Okay, Joshua says a space that is meant for a special few. Yeah, I totally love that definition as well. Thank you. All right, do we have anyone else who wants to contribute to this conversation? Okay, let's keep it going then, so we don't take too much of our time. All right, so I have here with me, it says boundaries is basically, respect for personal space, comfort level, and limits, right? So that's basically saying that, boundaries are all about respecting one another's personal space, the things that we are comfortable with, and the extent to which we are comfortable with those things, as well as limitations, like what are the limits I'm putting to how far you can go with me in this relationship, and what are the limits that you are putting to how far I can go with you in this relationship. So the topic of this conversation is boundaries in relationships, but by virtue of the word boundary in the first
yes, it's definitely expensive.
Yes. Let's mute our mic. Thank you.
All right. By virtue of the fact that we are establishing boundaries, it means these boundaries affect someone else. We don't just establish boundaries for ourselves. We establish boundaries so that people will not cross over those boundaries. So by virtue of the word boundaries, by the fact that it exists as a phenomenon, it means that it exists within relationships. There has to be relationships before, we can now think to establish boundaries in these relationships, right? Now, a whole lot of people are in relationships where boundaries do not exist, and they find themselves being overwhelmed for it. There is no respect for their personal space. There's no respect for their likes and dislikes. And I'm not just talking romantic relationships when I say relationships. I'm speaking platonic relationships, familiar relationships, workplace relationships, with particular emphasis on familiar relationships. You see, it can be so easy to draw the lines in your workplaces, with your colleagues, your boss. But when it comes to family, they are mom, they are dad, okay, so I'm a sibling. So many familiar relationships exist without boundaries, but we need boundaries. We need boundaries to really enjoy good overall positive well-being, right? Because without boundaries, we find it that we'll be drained, we'll be exhausted. People will always want to take as much as they can take from you, whilst giving very little or sometimes nothing in return. So when we talk about boundaries, a good way to start to view boundaries is to look at boundaries as something that we do to protect ourselves and our needs, to protect our energies, to protect our spaces. So, and we do need protection. Everyone needs protection. Everyone needs to feel safe and secure. So when we begin to look at boundaries, in this perspective, it becomes easier for us to have conversations revolving around boundaries. We don't hear the word and want to freeze and say, isn't it too much? Is that not asking for too much? Is that not doing too much? Right? We instead are willing to engage ourselves in these conversations and listen to what we have to learn from them. So before moving on, I just want to say well done to everyone who is here. I think that this is a wonderful initiative, a group where people come together every now and then to discuss things about loving and dating. As we all know, or as I always say, our relationships really cover a large aspect of our well-being. The relationships that we have with people, if they're not healthy, if they're not thriving, it just spills into every other aspect of our lives and affects everything else. In fact, I just came out of a conversation where I was speaking on holistic living, which is basically living with focus on not just one aspect of our lives, but the three aspects that come together to make the entire being, our mind, body, and soul. So it's not just enough to focus on work, making money, on Christianity alone. Oh, church, prayer, fire, everybody, Holy Ghost fire. Well, for those who practice Holy Ghost fire, right? It's important to also focus on our relationships. So I want to say well done for this initiative. It's amazing. So let's move on. Now, we have some things that you need to note about boundaries, and that's the fact that boundaries differ from relationships to relationships. The boundaries that I have with my mom, my parents, my siblings, is certainly not the kind of boundaries that I would have with my colleagues or my staff, right? My employees. The boundaries that I have with my friends is not the same boundary I'm going to have with my husband. So just because you have one boundary, one rule, or one need, set in place, one clear line drawn with one person, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that everyone else in your life has to operate by that specific boundary. Let me paint a good example, right? Say you are in a workplace, and one boundary that you can establish in your workplace is that you don't talk about your personal life, right? When people start to ask you questions that are too intimate, you can just easily let them know that I'm not comfortable talking about these things, and I appreciate if you don't ask me questions concerning them moving forward. That's a very, very good way to set boundary concerning that. But imagine your friend start asking you something about, how you're doing, your mental health, how your relationship is going, and you're like, oh, that's too personal. I appreciate it. It will sound somehow, it might start to, cause friction in the relationship. And that's not to say that we cannot decide to hold some things back from our friends, of course, right? We will always have liberty over the kind of information that we choose to share, or in any case, not divulge. So we can do that with our friends, but the way that we'll go about setting that boundary would definitely be different. So let's bear that in mind, right? Our boundaries can differ from relationships to relationships. All right. So another thing that you need to know about boundaries is that they are about safeguarding your self-esteem, your sense of security, and your vulnerability as well. Remember when I said earlier that boundaries can be seen as protective measures, right? So when we are setting boundaries, we are making sure that our self-esteem is protected. Have you ever been in a situation where you told someone something, and then after that situation, you start regretting, you start beating yourself down? Oh, I overshared. I said what I shouldn't have said, and all of those things. So you start feeling less of yourself just because of that slip up, right? But if we add boundaries in place, we wouldn't get to feel that way about ourselves, because our boundaries will protect us, from over divulging the things that we do not want to divulge, right? And then there's another example of, when you have boundaries with people, when someone comes up to you and say, you've got it so far, so why are you looking at this? And you draw a clear line that, please, I would appreciate if you don't make comments on my physical appearance moving forward, right? The person knows that. The person would say something like that tomorrow. And, with your friendships, your close relationships, even your familiar relationships, they know that this is a touchy subject for you, right? So they don't comment on it or make jokes about it or try to be insensitive about it. And because they don't do that, you realize that nobody is telling you things that will make you feel less of yourself. Your self-esteem is being protected, right? So this is the way that, boundaries can work to safeguard our self-esteem. And when it comes to security, boundaries give us a sense of security. You are home, and you are the kind of person who would rather that people do not come to your house without calling to confirm if it's a good time to visit in the first place, right? So when you are home, your home is a secure space for you because of the boundary that we've established. You are not living in panic or perpetual fear or anxiety that someone can just knock on the door and it will be someone that you're not ready to see, because you know that the people around you know that they cannot come to your house, right, without calling you. You've established that boundary with them, okay? So another way that, boundary protects us is when it comes to our vulnerability. Like I said before, oversharing. When you have boundaries on what you choose to tell people or not tell people, your vulnerability is protected. When you do decide to share with someone, you are doing so with confidence and knowledge that, okay, this person will not go and be telling people all around, because they understand the boundaries that I have put in place. Okay, now our boundaries also protect our well-being. Like I said, when you are pouring and pouring and pouring, it's so easy to get exhausted, so easy to get drained. But when you have boundaries, when you know that, okay, anything from 10 p.m., I'm not picking anybody's calls, anything from 6 p.m., okay, anything that's related to work, please don't tell me about it. I've closed for the day. I have closed for the day. See you tomorrow, right? So our boundaries protect us. A while ago, I don't know how many of you know this lady on Instagram. what's her name? The white writer, or she basically has a Christian brand, and Ezinne is her name. I forgot the name of her brand. Find attached. Exactly. Oh, please, Organo, find attached. I've closed for the day. Right. So Ezinne came out one day with this really, really emotional caption, and she was telling people how just because she comes to talk about spirituality and faith and building a relationship with God doesn't mean that she has answers to everything, or she is in a mental space where she's able to listen to people's struggles and advise them and help them out of it. So what she was basically saying with that caption was people were bleeding on her so much, and her mental health could no longer take it. So she was informing and begging people that, please, don't come to me with your troubles again. It's not as if I don't want to help, but I am not in a good enough mental state to help. It got to this point where she had to establish that boundary, because she realized that her mental health and emotional well-being were suffering greatly, right, from the fact that people kept bleeding on her. So she had to draw that line. Please don't come to me with your problems anymore. So it is in this way that when we establish boundary, we can also safeguard our mental health, right? There's a time when I mentioned on my stories that if you want to come into my DM, please ask me if it's a good time to talk first. And a lot of people do that these days. You know, they come, hi Phoenix, how are you doing? Are you okay? This is a good time to talk. Well, yeah, go ahead, before they begin to diverge and share information with me. So that was one way that I established that boundary to protect myself, to safeguard my mental health. So these are the things that, you know, we need to bear in mind about boundaries moving forward, right? Now, what are the types of boundaries that we can establish? We can establish emotional boundaries, and emotional boundaries are really all about maintaining our individuality, our thoughts, our emotions, and our feelings. You see situations whereby someone comes to you and the person is like, oh, this person did so and so to me. I'm so angry. How could they do that? And I think, okay. And then he's like, you're not even angry. Are you not hearing what I'm saying? You know, and you'll be like, just because you're angry doesn't mean that I have to be angry as well. Like I have autonomy, I have authority over my own emotions and over what I choose to think about the particular situation, right? So as much as I understand what you are going through, as much as I am validating your feelings, I do not have to feel the same feelings as you, right? And this happens in family relationships as well. One parent will go to the child and start painting the other parents bad. Oh, your father did this. Oh, your mother did that. Oh, this. And before you know it, the child starts feeling some certain way towards that other parent. When in the research of the world, that might not even be what's really happening in their relationship as, you know, spouses, but you're already fighting another person's war when you don't really know what went down. So establishing boundaries and saying things like, mommy, please, whatever happens between you and your husband is between you and your husband. Don't involve me, because I'll get involved now. Tomorrow, you people will start doing love. Please keep it between the two of you. So that's one way you can establish boundary in that regard. Like, just let them know that I'm not going to start making enemies, you know, of this person just because you have issues with that person. I'm going to, you know, deal with the matter in my own way. I'm going to form my own thoughts about this matter. I'm not going to, you know, mirror your emotions like a chameleon. Do you get? So another way that we can set emotional boundaries is by, you know, caring about others without losing ourselves. It happens to empaths a lot. You know, you pour so much into being there for people that you begin to neglect your own self. But when you're able to set emotional boundary, when you're able to say, this is the limits I can take, this is the extent to which I can handle. Like once it's beginning to pass this limit, once it's beginning to pass this extent, I am no longer doing no. Please, I am stepping away from this, I'm stepping back, right? You can now help yourself. Let me give another example. Say you know a couple that they are having issues, you know, always fighting, quarrels all the time, and you've been trying to settle things, advise the person who is constantly perpetrating that particular problem, constantly causing the issue that, stop now, do this, do that. And you have your own, like, you're still trying to make things work, right? And then something happens. Maybe the lady finally hits the man, or the man hits the lady. And you're like, oh, okay, this is why I take a step back. I am not trying to make this relationship work anymore. You people, separate, like, don't involve me again. I'm done. I'm leaving, right? So these are the ways that we can set emotional boundaries. Now we have intellectual boundaries about your value and belief system. There are some people that want to look down on what you believe in or what you find valuable, and they'll be like, oh, I can't believe you're doing that. I can't believe you don't do this. We're like, okay, I like it. I'm doing it because I like it. I want to keep doing it. So I believe in it. So it's fine. It's okay if you don't get it, but I get it. And that works for me, right? So these are the ways that we can have intellectual boundaries. Now, intellectual boundaries can also be being secure in your own opinion. When you say something that you strongly believe in, not just because you're speaking out of bias or prejudice or preference or your own personal experience, but you formed that opinion based on observing over a period of time, and you're like, okay, this is how it is, right? And then someone is now coming, other people are now coming to say, oh, no, it shouldn't be so, it shouldn't be so. Take for example, if you're someone who believes that cheating is not ideal in a relationship, and then we're in this present world now where everyone is making it seem like, okay, it's not a big deal, or it's normal, we are polygamous in nature, you cannot love one person. Having intellectual boundary is being able to remain secure in that your opinion. Like, I know what I stand for, and I'm continuing to stand for it, right? And then we also have physical boundaries, like, oh, please don't hug me, don't touch me, don't shake me, right? Don't rest on my shoulders, don't touch me because you are trying to tell me to excuse you. We can have physical boundaries that concern that as well. And it can also concern our space and possessions. Oh, I need my personal space, please. Can you give me a moment alone? I need to just be by myself. Oh, don't touch my journal. It's personal to me. I don't like anybody touching my journal. Leave it. Oh, the way I arrange that library, just leave it for me like that. So we can also have we can also have boundaries regarding our personal spaces as well when it comes to physical boundaries. So let's move on. We have financial boundaries, we have sexual boundaries, and all of those things. So let's quickly move on. I'm being told that my time is going. Now, I've given several examples of boundaries, sensitive boundaries, and I'm going to just give more examples, especially in relationship setting, right? So we can say no to codependency. Codependency is basically when I take care of your emotions, you take care of my emotions. We cannot undo our emotions alone. So whenever the person is going through something, they are always reaching out to you, always calling you, always bleeding on you. As much as we want to be there for the people that we love, we need to understand that constantly helping them get through difficult times without encouraging them to attempt to do so by themselves is not helping them at all. So sometimes you can say no, you can say, okay, I really want to be there for you, but I'm not available right now. So can you go for therapy? Can you seek counseling? Can you speak with someone else? That's one way that you can establish boundaries. Now, I've mentioned personal space, communication, peaceful exits in a heated conversation, when things are going able, and you feel like, okay, if I don't make a decision now, I don't do something right now, things are going to become irreparable. You can decide to walk away, just take some moments to just cool off, walk away. You don't necessarily have to continue to engage that person in that present situation. Establishing boundaries by walking away, letting them know that, see, once you begin to yell and we're having an argument, I'm shutting down that argument and I'm no longer participating in it. Let them know and walk away, right? Staying true to oneself, we discussed that before. Prioritizing self-care is one way that you can establish boundary. Like, okay, today is Monday, I'm not going to work today. I'm just going to see movies, eat my favorite food, go out, breathe, bask in the sunlight, stay in touch with nature. That is one way of establishing boundary. Now, your alone time as well, having some me time, right? It happens with mothers. So just be like, see, I'm going upstairs. Nobody should disturb me throughout today. I'm no longer available. That's the boundary that the mother is establishing, because she needs her me time, she needs her alone time. And even in romantic relationships, you don't always have to be following each other all around. You can be in the same house and one person is in the room doing their thing, the other person is in the living room doing their thing. You need this, alone time to really sort things out on your own, to just collect your thoughts, be by yourself. Solitude is good. Now, you can change your mind when it comes to boundaries. You can change your opinions. And some people will be trying to tell you that, no, you used to believe in this. You cannot say you no longer believe in it. Hello? Yeah, I can. And I would like you to respect that. Remember when we said that a major part of boundary is respect, right? So, and of course, financial agency. This is my money. I'm going to decide what to do with my money. Some romantic relationships, one of the partners is the one controlling the entire funds of the other partner, and they don't even have access to the money at all. We usually see this in financially abusive relationships. So being able to establish boundary is, being able to also have an exercise financial agency. This is my money. This is how I'm going to spend it. And, I'm going to spend it by myself. Thank you. All right. So now in romantic relationships, we can have, I'm almost rounding up, guys. We can have boundaries that are within the relationship and boundaries that are outside the relationship. When we are talking about boundaries outside the relationship, it means the boundaries that you have with other people concerning your relationship, right? Let's say you are in a committed relationship and you have friends that would usually flirt with you or say funny things to you, and you just let them know that we can have that kind of conversation anymore because I'm with someone now, right? And when things are starting to get over the top, that are always inviting you for late night outings, and you want to keep going, hello, you need to know that there's a need to respect the person that you are presently with. So it's important to establish boundaries with outsiders when we are now in a relationship. Don't be calling someone who is married by 12 a.m. What do you want to discuss with them? Do you get, like, I understand if it's time difference, time zones, palaver, but if people are in the same time zone, I'm calling them at 12 a.m. laughing into 1 p.m. at night. Hello, you need to establish these boundaries. You need to draw clear lines. Now, when it comes to boundaries within relationship, what are these boundaries? You can set boundaries such as, when we're having a conversation, let me say your piece and I'll let you say my piece. If I'm saying my piece, after I've let you say your own piece and you're interrupting me, please don't interrupt when I'm talking. It can be as simple as that. You can say it firmly but softly, right? You don't have to be rude about it. Please, I'll appreciate if you don't interrupt when I'm talking. Now, you can set boundaries revolving around consent, especially when it comes to sexual matters. What are the things you are comfortable with? If you're in a married relationship, what are the things you're not comfortable with? Even if you are dating, set boundaries from the start. Hello, I'm celibate, I'm abstinent, I'm keeping myself for my marriage. I don't believe in sex before marriage. Let them know, draw clear lines, set these clear boundaries. Or what are the things you can allow? Okay, we can hug, we can hold hands, we can kiss. But once you start pressing my breast, please, I'm not doing it again though. That's where I'll draw the line. So you need to draw, establish boundaries around consent as well, especially when it comes to sexual matters. What are the things you consent to and the things you don't consent to? And it's important that those boundaries be respected and taken seriously. All right. Now, we also have boundaries concerning time, space, and emotions. We are going out by 10 a.m. We ladies, we do this a lot. 9:30, you are still in bed, if not woken up. When you wake up, you now want to start making up and choosing what you want to wear. No, now, if you know that your partner is someone who takes going early to events very, very seriously, that is a need of theirs. Respect their need, right? By making sure that you try to respect their time. Don't keep them waiting. You guys are meeting to social place at 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. you are still on your way. You are blaming Lagos traffic. It's not fair. Respect their time, respect their space, respect their work. Your partner is working, your partner is sleeping after a long day, and your partner is an important meeting, and that's when you start making noise everywhere, watching TV at the loudest volume. No, don't do that. Respect your time and their personal space. And they need to do the same for you as well, right? And when it comes to emotions, somebody is going through really, really intense emotions, and you start saying things like, I can't believe it's this small thing that is even making you cry. Is it more than this? No, don't do that. Don't invalidate your partner's emotions. Don't tell them things like, oh, yeah, you are overreacting or you are overthinking things. No, respect their emotions. That is a boundary. Don't cross that boundary. Respect their emotions, validate their emotions, even though it doesn't make sense to you or you don't understand it. Respect it nonetheless. All right, their personal preferences and their needs. I love watching K-drama. Till tomorrow, my brother don't understand what I see in K-drama, but he has never looked down upon the fact that I love watching K-drama and he doesn't understand K-drama. So that is one way that you can also respect your partner's preferences and needs in romantic relationships. You don't need to understand why they rather wear baggy trousers because it makes them feel comfortable. Like, you don't look good in it, but it's what they want, it's their preference. Respect it, understand it, right? So yeah, and their needs as well. Like I said, if your partner is someone who is not into social media and display, but you want to be putting them on social media all the time, forcing them to do TikTok video with you, and any partner challenge, you are doing it with them. That's somehow. If your partner is someone who is an introvert, they don't like going out, but whenever they mention party, you better put your name down. Oh, I'm coming with my wife. Oh, I'm coming with my girlfriend. I'm coming with my boyfriend. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, somebody asks you for their number. You've already sent their number immediately. About now. Ask them, hello, this person so and so needs your number. Do you want me to go ahead and share it with them? You are living in the same house and somebody wants to visit and you're making all the decisions alone. Don't do that. Ask them, respect that boundary. So and so wants to visit. What time works for you? What date works for you? Work hand in hand with each other, right? Now, you can actually have unhealthy boundaries. Unhealthy boundaries are boundaries that infringes on someone else's rights, right? You can say things like, oh, my boundary is that you don't hold me accountable for my action. I did something wrong, but why must you tell me that I did something wrong? You are crossing that boundary. That's a very, very unhealthy boundary. Our boundary is about protecting our own self. We must not infringe on someone else's rights to do the things that they need to do that matter to them, right? And sometimes boundaries can be selfish. So we need to make sure that as much as you are setting boundaries in your own interest, they are not boundaries that are selfish. Saying things like, oh, once it's 4 p.m., don't call me about anything concerning work. And you have workers, you have colleagues that are still really at the job, putting in their all, and you are just where you are being nonchalant about it all. Come on now. As much as we need to set boundaries to protect ourselves, we need to know when to make these boundaries flexible and get the job done or be there for the people that we love, right? Now, how can you actually effectively set your boundaries? Communicate. You need to communicate assertively. Say what you want in very, very clear terms. Oh, my journal is personal to me. I don't like people looking through my journal. Please, I would appreciate if you let it be, or you never look through my journal again. Communicate as let them know, oh, I'm working so time tomorrow. I won't be available. If you're not coming during that time, I'll be very, very grateful. Communicate assertively. Another way that you can establish your boundary is to reinforce. See, so many people, when you even communicate a boundary with them, they want to test you and see if that boundary holds water. So you need to reinforce your boundary at that point in time. Like when you've told them that you don't want them touching your journal, they come to visit you the next day and they carry that journal again. Remind them, don't let it go. Let's remind them, right? Now, another thing you can do is to attach consequences to your boundaries. If you do this is what's going to happen. A quick story. When I was in school, there was someone who always came to my apartment without calling me and letting me know ahead of time. I had told this person over and over again, and they kept doing it. So one day, they did it again. I went to the door. I opened the door. I saw them. I told them to go back home. I shut my door. I started playing loud music in my room, and I played that music till I knew that they had left. Then I sent them a message that next time when you want to come to my house, call me first. What if I'm not at home? What kind of finish is that? Because I had to go out. You don't think you can be dropping in my apartment anytime. Don't do that. And I'm telling you, that was the last time that person try that. Every other time the person tried to visit me after that, they make sure to call and confirm that I was available and willing to receive them. So you need to attach consequences to the boundaries you are setting. If I'm setting boundaries, and you don't, like, you continue to flout those boundaries, this is what's going to happen. You need to let them know that something is going to happen, and do it. Don't be too shy. Do it. Now, you need to carefully consider your boundaries. What boundaries do you want to set? Like I said, a good way to look at boundaries is thinking of them as a means of protecting ourselves. What are the things that are important for? What are my needs? Okay, I need peace. I need space. I need privacy. I need a moment alone. I need to be respected. I need to be listened to. I need to not be yelled out. Look at your needs. Then set your boundaries around your needs, right? Now, finally, when you are setting boundaries, bear this in mind. People will revolt. If you are not someone who is used to boundaries before, when you begin to set boundaries, the people that used to benefit from your lack of boundaries will start to guilt trip you into thinking that you are doing something wrong. They'll be like, what do you mean I cannot call you by 10 p.m.? Are you not my friend? Why can't I call you by 10 p.m.? But it's important to you. So you need to understand, when they say things like that, you might start doubting that, Abi, am I doing too much? Should I stop? Should I change it? You're not doing too much. Stay by your boundaries. Only, flex your boundaries or change them when you think that they are really, really over the board or over top. Now, your relationships might begin to get affected. Like I said, those that used to benefit from your lack of boundaries might start feeling like you are doing too much, and they begin to withdraw from you. They'll begin to give you some kind of attitude, some kind of coldness. You need to be ready for that when you begin to set firm boundaries. But set your boundaries anyway. Bear this in mind. Anyone who cannot respect your boundaries is probably someone that should not be in your life in the first place, right? So if they're already doing you the favor of taking themselves out of your life, my dear, appreciate the favor, welcome it, accept it. Now, your boundaries does not have to make sense to anybody. What do you mean I have to call you before I visit you? What do you mean I have to message you first before I send you, before I video call you? Fine, it doesn't have to make sense to them, but it makes sense to you, and that's good enough. Now, like I said before, your boundaries should revolve around your needs for sanity, peace, and happiness. What do you need to be peaceful? What do you need to be happy? What do you need to feel sane, right? What do you need to rest? You need to create your boundaries revolving around that. Now, just to round up, what are the benefits of boundaries? Why must we establish boundaries? For good health. When you establish boundaries, you begin to enjoy better well-being, physical health, and all of those things. You're not running all over the place trying to just break yourself for other people. You have boundaries now to protect you. So, you're able to enjoy better health, right? You're able to enjoy better well-being. Like I said, when you have boundaries, you enjoy better well-being. People know not to say things that would upset you. People know not to treat you in manners that would upset you. People know not to treat you, with disdain and disregard. People know not to put you down for your opinions or your beliefs or your values. And people know not to shame or laugh at your personal preferences. So because of that, you're going to enjoy better well-being. And because your mom knows, your dad knows that if they come to report to you about what somebody else is doing, you'll be like, hello, please be by yourself, do your own thing, right? So you're able to protect yourself. You feel fulfillment and happiness, you feel peace, and in your relationship especially, you begin to enjoy mutual respect towards each other. Each person feels respected, each person feels important, each person feels valued, each person feels seen and heard. So the bond between you guys begins to grow stronger and deeper. All right. Now, sometimes we can violate our own boundaries. So if you don't want to violate your boundaries, make sure that you always say what you mean. If someone asks you to do something that you are not comfortable with, say no. Don't say yes when you mean no, right? Now, communicate assertively. Again, reinforce. Remember, nobody can read your mind. So you need to be clear about what you want. Don't manipulate people into, doing what you want, and don't let yourself get manipulated as well. Yes, so I guess this is what I'm going to round up, just to summarize everything I've said so far. I had to move really, really quickly so that I wouldn't keep us here for too long. Basically, boundaries are important, boundaries are necessary, and boundaries are good for us. So yeah, we need to create, set, and reinforce as many boundaries as we can. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much for that beautiful session. It was really, really awesome having you here today. I have my notepad full already. I've written and I've written. I've written enough to go around. Okay, people. So this is the part where we get to ask questions. So is there any part that you touched or something that she has mentioned that probably? So this is the part where we get to ask questions. So let me know if there's any question. You can just signify by raising your hands and we go like that. Anybody? Okay, we have Samuel Wito. Okay, please go ahead. Kindly unmute yourself. We can hear you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the presentation. Sincerely speaking, I've learned a lot. My notes is filled already. Now, my question is as regards when you were talking about intellectual boundaries. Yes, I was a bit distracted, but I heard something as regards to holding on to your belief system and the likes. So I want to understand where the limit to which we keep holding to the things we believe instead of questioning it sometimes. Now, as a person, I've had misunderstanding with friends before, because when we hold some conversations, I realized that they are school of thoughts. I believe in ideas. I believe that ideally, this is how things should be. That's the kind of person I am. So even if I open up to you and I allow you to share your view and everything, and it looks like something is fishing and the likes, I'll just be like, man, I think you need to look at why you believe this thing, and people will just tell you that that's what I believe and it's my belief. But at the same time, I feel like there should be a limit to which we hold some belief system instead of and question it if it's actually worth holding on to and the likes. So I just need more clarification as regards that.
Okay. Second for that, I don't know if you understand this question.
It's muted. She's muted.
Oh my, let me check.
I muted myself. All right. Yes, I do. Sorry, I was already talking. Thank you very much for that question. I totally agree with you, right? There should be a limit to which we hold on to our beliefs, usually when those beliefs are not exactly founded on the right basis or the right school of thought. I did mention earlier that we need to make sure that what we believe is not as a result of bias, prejudice, or preferences. Like, let's take, for example, this matter of tribal bigotry that's been going on the internet for the past few weeks now. You hear people saying that, oh, we're not one Nigeria, Igbo people are this, Igbo people are that. As far as they're concerned, that's their own belief. They believe that Igbo people should go back to their own places. Igbo people should be in their own town and not, begin to encroach on other people in their own communities, in their own states. But what really is the basis of that belief? Prejudice, bigotry, bias. So when we really, really check our belief system, that's why I said we need to question our belief system. By the time we have even done the work of questioning our belief system personally, when people begin to challenge these beliefs, we will not be able to, hold on to them, because I have questioned this thing over and over again. I have checked facts, I have checked figures, and it has led me to this conclusion. So I'm going to hold on to it. Not that your belief system is just based on your bias, your prejudice towards a particular group of people, or because it's something that you've heard people regurgitate over and over and over and over again, and you never even bothered to question it. You just carry that, this is what I believe. And that's what you continue to perpetuate. So we need to, do the work of questioning our belief. Like you said, our belief system, our values, we need to do the work of questioning them. Another good example I want to use is this topic of, a woman belongs in the kitchen. Till tomorrow, there are people who forever believe that a woman has no business working. A woman has no business pursuing a career. Why do they strongly believe this thing? Because of bias, prejudice, against the female gender as a whole, or women are the weaker sex, and all of those things. There are people who believe that everything concerning money in the house is the man that must take care of it. Why? Because of upbringing, social structures, and all of those things. So we need to actually do the work of questioning our belief system. When we are questioning our belief systems, when we have vetted them against our personal, because we might think we are not biased, but that's a lie. Everybody, no matter how informed or well or read or literate we think we are still holding on to personal biases of our own. So vet these belief systems, vet these values against, prejudice, bias, and all of those things, and facts and figures. What is real? What is not real? What is true? What is not true? When you've done this, you cannot begin to say that, I hold on to this. And if you come to me and you tell me that it is a lie, I will continue to hold on to this. It's just like Christianity. We believe that God lives because, we've experienced it firsthand, even though we've not seen him, we've experienced it. So when someone is coming to tell you that Christianity is not real, you know what the answer to give to them because you know that it is real. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that. Okay, Mr. Samuel, I hope that's okay. Or do you still want to ask any other further questions?
No. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have any other question as regards what we just talked about? Or any other thing that we've probably mentioned during the course of this session and you think you want some clarity? Okay, while we're waiting for other people to signify, I have a question here that I wrote. And let me just read from my notepad. Okay, so now this question is, how can I set boundaries kindly and clearly without sounding selfish? So I think you mentioned that, but I think I need a little bit of clarity. For people that are just starting out on setting boundaries, especially people that they're, people have taken for granted and they think, okay, it's high time I get this started, it's high time I start putting out some boundaries there. So how do we go about setting them kindly and clearly without sounding too selfish?
Okay, very much.
Okay, yeah.
I'm glad that you said too selfish, because if there's anything that we must come to terms with when it comes to setting boundaries, is the fact that our boundaries will always seem selfish to some people. Always. Like we're doing it in our own self-interest. So of course, it's going to come across as selfish. But I think what we should be focused on is how to communicate these boundaries kindly and respectfully, despite being assertive, right? If you are new to setting boundaries, you might want to explain to people as well why you need to set those boundaries. Just like the example I gave about how, Ezinne came and she was like, you guys, please don't send me any messages concerning your life problems again. She didn't just come and say, you people are doing too much. You are telling me things I cannot undo. Please don't do that again. No, she was really, really kind and gentle with the process of setting that boundary. And then she explained to us, she helped us to understand that this is why I need you to stop doing this, right? So we can do that as well, being able to explain. When I don't want someone to touch my journal, I don't just say, oh, don't touch my journal, or oh, don't touch my things. I can just say that, oh, all right, that's okay. I like seeing my things a certain kind of way. When my things are disorganized or out of place, it affects me. So please, if you want to touch my things, make sure that when you're putting them back, the way you made them. Or my journal is very, very personal to me. I write very, very personal things in those journals, and I don't write them with the intention of anybody else reading them. So please don't touch my journal. So we could just take a step further and explain why we are setting these boundaries so people to help them understand better, right? And another thing we can do, our wording, we need to mind our wording. See, you can tell someone you are stupid, or you can tell someone that I don't think you really thought this through. Are you sure you did? And you are basically saying the same thing, that you not really have sense like that. But one would definitely make the person angrier than the second one. Why? It's all about wording. So you can use, proper wording to make sure that when you are communicating your boundary assertively, it still comes across as kind and gentle. And I also want to say this, that sometimes you have to be harsh. Because when you are being gentle and kind with some people, it will not sink. They will not get it. So you have to be harsh with some particular kind of people. So know who you are dealing with. If you are dealing with coconut head, please say it in the language that we understand most effectively, right? So yeah, that's one way those are two ways that we can set boundaries while coming across as kind and gentle. I have another question here. It says that how can one sense boundary and not be misunderstood as being proud? You'll be misunderstood though. I will send it now. I like what Daka says here, that women need to learn that it is okay to be selfish and stern. Yes, I think that this is a problem that women particularly struggle with, because if you just do one thing, they will tell you, you are too rude, you're too a strong face for a woman. You need to be comfortable with it. Sometimes the people pleaser in us wants people to be okay with us at all times. We need to be okay with being the villains in people's book. We need to be okay with somebody somewhere thinking that we are proud. Are we proud? No. Our conscience is clear. We know that we are not proud, and we know that it's not us being selfish, right? We know we're just protecting ourselves. So we need to be okay. We need to first make our peace with the fact that when I begin to set boundaries, a lot of people will not get it. A lot of people will think I am doing too much. A lot of people will think I am being proud. Good. Let them misunderstand their way, but you know that you're not being proud and you're not being unreasonably selfish, right? But if you really want to make sure that, nobody misunderstands you, you can only control that to an extent, because even if you roll yourself on the ground and, give yourself your edge for them to step on, they'll say that you are just pretending. When people are determined to believe the worst of you, there's nothing you can do to change their mind. But, right, if you don't want to be misunderstood as being proud, then, like I said, the way you mind your words so that you'll be gentle and kind. Watch your tone. Don't say it like you feel like you are bigger than them, or like in a condescending manner. Don't do things like, okay, if you yell at me, I'll realize that you are not okay in the head. So I'm not going to entertain that conversation with you. I'm not going to listen to you at all. Of course, nobody will yell at that and think that this person is just setting the needed to be set boundary. Don't think, why did you become so proud and rude like this? So watch your tone. Yeah, basically, watch your tone. Keep your tone as, I would not say humble, but keep your tone as reasonable as possible. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that one too. Okay, I have another one here. And this is the question. How do we know that our boundaries has been crossed? How do we know when a boundary has been crossed? Because I think majority of us here are Christians, and I think we can relate to this to some extent. So, as Christians, there's this urge to be kind to people. There's this urge to be helpful to people. There's this urge to be able to receive people and, help them in the best way possible. But sometimes we get lost in doing all of this, that we don't even tend to know when the old boundaries is being crushed and being tampered with. And before you know it, we find ourselves in that place that we are thinking and we are depressed and we are like, how did this happen on my watch? So how do we get to know when our boundaries is being crossed?
All right. Okay. I think that you know when your boundary is being crossed by the mere fact that they are doing the things that you ask them not to do. right? They are trying to draw you into the things that you rather not be a part of. You know that your boundary is being crossed. If I have a boundary about when I'm in my office, right, except it's something really urgent, please don't come to me. And then this minute they come, what's even the number for DSTV again? The next minute they come, please, so where did you drop that powder that you bought yesterday? The next minute they are back again. You know that something is going wrong. You know something is happening. So at that point in time, you need to reinforce your boundary. Or if you've already made it clear that I don't appreciate when you make comments about my physical appearance, and the next time you see them is, you've gotten so fat, oh, what's happening? What are you eating? Or after that, you see them again and it's, this photo doesn't really look flattering on you. Didn't you look at the mirror? You know, like you can feel it. You can just sense that this person is doing something that I have specifically told them not to do. So at this point in time, my boundary is being crossed. Now, about how sometimes we get carried away because we are trying to be kind, we are trying to be present. I don't think in that sense, it is people who are crossing our boundaries. We are the ones who are not respecting our own boundaries, and it can happen. We can respect our own boundaries, right? So, like I said earlier, people will take as much from you as they know that they can take, as much as you are willing to give them. So it gets to the point where you have to be the one to respect that boundary. You have to be the one to draw yourself back and say, I'm doing too much. This is where mindfulness comes in. As much as it's the time that I said, okay, from 10 p.m., any message that enter my DM from 10 p.m., I am not responding. Any message, for counseling and all of those things, I am not responding to the next day. But there are times when I break that rule because the messages I get are SOS messages. Maybe someone is contemplating suicide, someone is self-harming, or someone is being heavily battered by their partner and they need somewhere to go to. Maybe I'm already going to sleep, or that's when I just want to relax with one nice movie and popcorn. I have to leave whatever I'm doing and get to work. I have to start reaching out to the NGOs I have access to, lawyers that can rally around, people that they can go and, okay, please, reaching out to people who contribute funds for victims, so and so, okay, can you go to an hotel room? Is there somewhere you can go to and stay for the night? I have to do that. Or sometimes they just need me to talk with them through the night. Then 4 a.m., 5 a.m., I am still talking to this person just to stop them from going ahead to, commit suicide. And the next morning, everything is good, everything is fine. They're in a much better place now. I'm getting them the professional help that they need, and we move on like that. So these things happen, right? But know when to, like I said, be flexible with your boundaries when the situation calls for it. But when you now notice that, okay, it's no longer, because I did this thing this night, tomorrow night, someone will enter my DM with, Phoenix, I'm so sad. Oh, I can't believe this happened to me. And I know that what they want to talk to me about is can't wait till tomorrow. But I'm happy like, because I did it yesterday, I'm going to do it today. And then 1 week later, I'm back to that point in time where I don't have any distinction between night and day, work hours or don't work hours. I am still working 2-4-7 to attend to other people's needs. That's when I know that, okay, something is wrong somewhere. I've missed the plot. I need to go back to my drawing board. I need to retrace my steps. I need to start reinforcing my boundaries again. Now, when I say it's those people that have broken my boundaries, no. I'm the one who has respected my boundaries, right? Let me use another example. Okay, you already made it clear to your partner that no sex before marriage. Today, they hold your hand. Okay, you understand? Today, you guys kiss. Okay, you understand? Tomorrow, they're touching your bum. Okay, you understand? Next tomorrow, they're offering your pints. You need to know that at some point, hello, guy, girl, you're taking it too far. This is not what we are here for, right? So we need to be mindful of our own boundaries as well and make sure that as much as we are being flexible, as much as we are being kind and Christianly, we are not overstepping our boundaries. Please allow me to make one more point. See, finances, you need to have boundaries with your finances as well. It was something that I struggled with. I woke up one day and I realized that I had no savings. I was making money, I was working, I was making so much money, but I was not seeing the money I was making. Why? Somebody will enter my DM. Phoenix, this is the comfort. I've said it, pia. transfer. At the end of the day, nothing in my account. So I needed to start putting firm financial boundaries in place. I started with myself. I started to be disciplined with myself that this is the amount that I'm going to allocate to benevolence this month. Once it passes this amount, unless it is an emergency, I am not in again. So sometimes within the first week of the month, I've already passed that percentage, I've passed that amount. And then someone comes and the person's like, Phoenix, I don't have food to eat, I'm not eating anything. And I'm telling them, I'm like, oh God, this person is hungry. I'm like, hey, God, you've barely, hey, but you're a Christian, give now, God will do something for you. So, okay, if I do that, and then somebody comes the same day tomorrow, and I keep doing that, do you know where it will take me to? It will take me back to where I was before. So now I'm able to exercise financial boundaries. And I'm talking to people here, it happens to give us a whole lot. You want to keep giving and giving and giving and giving. You feel guilty. You feel like if you're not able to give this to this person, the whole world is going to come to an end. You are turning your back on the world. No, don't do that. You need to set financial boundaries and respect the financial boundaries that you set with yourself as well. Yeah, be mindful of that. So
yeah, thank you so much, because I know majority of us know that setting boundaries is really, really important. But you see, there's this guilt that comes with setting boundaries when you're like, okay, I really can't do this and I can't do that. The one part of your mind is like, are you not doing too much? Do you really need to do that? Do you need to do this? And all of those stuff. I don't know, but I don't know if you can relate to that kind of feeling, that guilt as a beginner, most importantly, because when you started it already and when you have like I think it happens more to men because men are quite more logical and they have hang over all of these things. But women, we tend to be more feeble and more flexible, So how do we get hold of that guilt that comes with setting boundaries?
yeah, when it comes to guilt, right? The guilt is because you are doing something that your whole mind is not used to. You are basically fighting against yourself. So you've probably given yourself many justifications that, oh, this person needs me to be there. Your mom comes to you and say, oh, your daddy has started again. Oh, he did this, he did that, he did that. And you know that you already told yourself that you don't want to be involved in their problems any longer. But this is your mom now. You love her, sweet mother. You start thinking of all the times that she was sneaking you 2,000 naira as you were going to school. You now want to involve yourself. Please know that it's either you or them. At some point, you need to bear that in mind, that it's either them or me. Like, I matter too. I'm also important, right? So if I keep doing this thing at the expense of myself, I'm going to burn out. I'm going to crash. I'm going to be drained. I'm going to be exhausted. So I need to take a step back. We need to know this. We also need to bear something in mind, that if you're letting guilt push you, then you are acting based on the wrong motivation. Honestly, it's just like, giving. The Bible says that for those who are Christian, the Bible says that give out of willingness, not out of necessity or a grudging heart. See, once guilt has entered the picture, that's a grudging heart too. That is necessity. You are doing it because you don't want to feel bad, because you have to, not because you really want to. So what's not the point? It defeats the entire purpose, right? I also want to say that when we don't exercise caution over how much of our boundaries we let become flexible, or we overlook or overstep, we are putting ourselves in a situation whereby we won't be able to actually help the people that need our help, right? So you keep giving and giving and giving and giving, you are going to be empty. And what happens when tomorrow there's an urgent situation that requires your skill set, your knowledge, your comfort, the counsel you have to give, the money you have to give, the energy you have to give, but you just can't be there because you are drained. So it's not just for ourselves. We need to know that when we obey our boundaries, when we respect our own boundaries, we are also preserving ourselves for future urgencies, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I don't know, do we have any other question that we need to talk about?
I think Sam has been raising his hand. He might have something to say.
I'm so sorry, I skipped that. Okay, please go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you, Kung Fu. Thank you so much. Actually, I still have a question, but you know, on
Okay.
this finance that you just spoke about, I just thought let me just share this. I learned something from Dr. Sam at the end. He said that at different part of the world, at some part of the world, some people believe that it is better to be so religious and just be so religious inclined and the scripture says that we should give, so we are going to give and all of that. And as some other part of the world, they believe that to be religious is good. However, to live life based on principle is also very vital. I think one of the problem with us at this part of the world is the fact that we are so religious to the point that where common sense should come into play, no. And it's telling on us. It's telling on us. Some of the podcasts that talks about financial literacy, he spends time to actually explain the concept of our belief system in Africa. It really affects us financially. We become early fathers, early mothers, we become, funders at early age. The time we should be accumulating and be building wealth, we are already become like, we are already the founder of almost everything. And you hear stuff like, and you don't understand the fact that to build wealth, it takes time and it's not going to happen overnight. But then,
Yeah.
I think you really explored that. I hope God will help us and we help ourselves too. Okay, so my question is, what was the relationship between boundaries and pride? I was just looking at my notes now, and I realized that I circled pride, and I was trying to do a brief analysis. And I'm looking at it. What's the relationship between boundaries and pride? Is it possible that people will cross your boundary and it's going to hurt your pride? Or there is more to that thing, and it is not just boundaries alone. Maybe there's something. I don't know. That's my question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sister Comfort, did you get that?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Sam. I was just nodding my head and you're talking about that principle and money. It's very, very true. Let me just say something about that. See, I was telling my parents that the reason why many Nigerians do not have generational wealth is because of black tax. The time that you're supposed to use to be building wealth for yourself and your generation, you're using to take care of your parents, your sisters, your family, your brother, other money that you should be putting aside for yourself. You're using to take care of other people. So you can't even build your own wealth. And now, because you're not building your own wealth, by the time you get to the age of retirement where you can no longer work, you have nothing saved up for yourself. So what happens? You begin to rely on your children to take care of you. Now, the money that your children are supposed to be using to save for their future selves and take care of themselves, they're using it to take care of you. So when your children get to that stage as well, what happens? They begin to rely on their children. So like that, the cycle continues. And we wonder why we have so many poor people in Africa. It's black tax. It's as simple as that. And we need to know where to draw the line. As much as we want to be there for our families, our friends, know where to draw the line. Safeguard your future and safeguard yourself. Now, to answer your question, Sam, definitely, establishing boundaries can come from a place of pride, and they can also cross, the line into pride. When I say it can come from a place of pride, like when you think that you are above something, or you think that someone or some people are beneath you, you can now start to say that, oh, please, I don't want to do this, right? You are in a workplace and you believe that, this work, nobody can do it more than me. They cannot throw me away. There's nobody they're sending me to. If they sack me, they'll bring me back because they will need somebody else to do it. So I can do anyhow. I can close by 4 p.m. when the closing time is 5 p.m. and tell them that this is my closing time. Nobody should call me after work. I can ignore work calls and say, it's the weekend. Why are you calling me for work calls? That's my boundary. So yes, we need to be honest with ourselves. When we are setting this boundary, where is it coming from? Are we just trying to protect ourselves? Or is it because we feel that we are above these particular things, that they are beneath us, that this person is beneath us? Is that why we're setting the boundary? If that is so, then we definitely need to work on that. you definitely need to go back to the drawing board and get things right. Now, when does boundary cross into pride? It's something I am particularly careful with myself. Sometimes I'll receive some messages and I'll be like, I beg, I'm not dealing with this now. And I'll have to catch myself immediately that, what do you mean? Are you doing this by your power? Did you get to the stage by your power? God brought you here. God brought you here for a reason. He brought you here to help his people. So don't start thinking that, you are anything too big or bigger than this mission or bigger than this project. As much as you need to protect yourself and conserve your energy, you also have to continue to serve. So in moments like that, I'm able to talk to myself, draw myself back, and do what needs to be done. So we need to be careful. Yes, we can cross from setting boundaries because we need those boundaries to protect ourselves into a place of pride, right? So now the fastest way to know when you are just being proud and not that you're just setting boundary is your thoughts, the motivation behind that boundary, the motivation behind your actions. Is it because you just feel like you are above everybody? Because that's basically what pride is, setting yourself on a higher plane that you belong, that you actually belong. Is that the reason? If that's the reason, then you need to work on it. You need to take some steps back. You need to retrace and get it right. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes,
All right.
yes, you have. Thank you so much.
Great. I'm glad she's able to answer your question. All right. Thank you so much, Sister Comfort. Do we have any more questions before we call it a day? Any other question? Okay, so in the absence of none, I want to believe that every one of us have learned
Sorry.
some. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
just want to say something. I think we are a few person. We are like how many on this course? So I think the liberation, the awareness of the fact that people are going through a lot, and to build wealth in Africa is something. It's like war. It's like we are fighting war. I think we should understand it, and we should, the way we relate to people, our big brothers, our uncles. When I was growing up, I was thinking it's really easy to make this money. When we ask them for money and they can't, just turn up and do those things and the like. Sure, you get. And now you realize that there's really much more to it. I really want us to build that intelligence, the way we relate to people we owed, our big brothers, our sisters, our brothers, and all of that. Sometimes they are also going through tough times and everything, and it's not all of them that can really spill out things they're dealing with. But this entitlement mentality of us in Africa needed to really need to stop, and it should start. It should start from us. We that we are on this. We should know that when we ask people and they are not able to give, it's not because they don't love us. It's not because they don't want to do. Peradventure, there is something that is affecting them at that moment, and we understand that. See, if it stops tomorrow, they have enough. We still rock it and enjoy this life together. It is well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we'll talk about that sometime. We need to put that in our calendar. Talking about financial intelligence is very, very important. And I'm glad that we're able to talk about all of this tonight, because for me, I don't know about any other person, this session is really, 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 really awesome. I've learned a whole lot, and I want to assume every other person here has done the same. And I also want to say thank you so much, Sister Comfort, for coming here, taking our time out of our busy schedule to make sure that she's here with us to join the party. And it was really, really awesome, having to learn all of these things, because all these things are those things that we do not want to talk about. And with the way social media is getting toxic every now and then, cutting people off, it's 2023, I'm not talking with this, I'm not talking with that, majority of us want to come, majority of us will do this thing called boundary, but we don't know how to go well about it. And I think with the little knowledge we've learned here today, we can go about all of this well in order to maintain our sanity. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for coming. Do have a lovely and a great weekend. Oh, okay. Somebody's saying we should organize. Okay, I'm reading something from the chat box. Or you organize this training again. Okay, we'll look into that. We'll look into organizing this training again, since it's a very, very, very needed one, and you all love it. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Sister Comfort. Good night and enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye.